It was supposed to be routine. A short kick, the kind you hit 1,000 times in practice without even thinking. But when the ball hooked wide and the stadium fell into stunned silence, the weight of the failure landed squarely on rookie kicker Andre Szmyt. His helmet drooped, shoulders heavy, eyes locked on the turf as if the grass might swallow him whole. Around him, teammates turned away. Some shook their heads. Others paced in frustration. The scene felt like a slow-motion collapse, the kind that turns a locker room sour before anyone even reaches the tunnel. And then, through that heavy silence, a rookie quarterback walked forward. Shedeur Sanders, head set off. No cameras in mind, no grandstanding, just presence. He made a straight line for Szmyt and wrapped an arm around the kicker's shoulders. We don't know what he whispered, maybe a reminder, maybe reassurance, but the result was obvious. The tension in Szmyt's body loosened. The moment shifted. What was seconds ago a scene of isolation became something entirely different. A flash of leadership, caught not by PR staff or highlight reels, but by a random sideline camera. That clip now has millions of views, and for good reason. It showed a rookie quarterback stepping into someone else's failure and changing the temperature of an entire sideline. Leadership moments aren't always loud. Sometimes they happen in the quiet seconds after the stadium groans. That's what made this different. In 5 steps and a simple gesture, Shedeur rewrote the narrative of that game. It wasn't about a missed field goal anymore. It was about a quarterback showing that he's more than arm strength or stat lines. He's the guy who refuses to let a teammate drown in silence. That's rare in the NFL, especially from a rookie. And it's exactly why this one sideline moment might be the spark that defines his future. Draft night should have been a celebration for Shedeur Sanders. Analysts predicted his name might come off the board earlier, possibly as high as the 2nd or 3rd round. Instead, the hours stretched, the cameras shifted to other prospects, and the tension grew. Finally, in the 5th round at pick number 144, Cleveland traded up and pulled the trigger. That slide shocked a lot of people, and the rumors started immediately. Reports surfaced that Baltimore had planned to take him, but his camp had sent word not to. That single twist reframed his entire draft story. Was this strategic positioning or a sign of arrogance? Everyone had an opinion, and none of it was subtle. The truth is, narratives around quarterbacks get written in real time. A draft slide can brand a player as overlooked, misunderstood, or risky before they ever put on a jersey. For Shedeur, the questions piled up. Was he too tied to his father's shadow? Was he more brand than ball? Or did some teams simply misread what he actually brings to a locker room? Those doubts, fair or not, now hang over every snap he takes. And yet, the same skepticism is what makes his story so intriguing. Because the way he's answering those doubts isn't with words, but with moments like the one he shared with Szmyt. By the way, if you're watching this and you're hooked by the story already, here's the deal. This channel is still small and your support really makes a difference. So if you want to stay updated on untold stories like this one, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. That interaction helps push this content out to more fans like you. Don't just watch. Be part of the conversation. Shedeur has never escaped the label of flashy. Critics point to the social media presence, the NIL deals, the documentary-style cameras that follow him. For some, that's enough to write him off as a quarterback who cares more about image than grit. But the reality is more complicated. Mic'd-up snippets from practices and games paint a different picture. A rookie who hypes teammates, cracks small jokes to break tension, and shrugs off rookie chores with a grin. At one point, when asked if he minded doing the small tasks, he answered plainly, "If the vet asked me to do this every day, I'd do it." That doesn't sound like a diva. That sounds like buy-in. The contradiction is striking. On the one hand, you've got the brand, polished and visible. On the other, you've got quiet moments of humility that rarely make headlines. This isn't a player ignoring the grind. It's a player who's lived under a microscope since high school and still chooses to connect with teammates first. That matters because a locker room doesn't care about your Instagram following. They care about whether you're in the trenches with them, willing to shoulder responsibility when it's messy. In that sense, Shedeur is quietly dismantling the flash-over-substance argument, one interaction at a time. Now let's be honest about where things stand. The Browns are 0-2. The offense looks disjointed, and the frustration in the fan base is rising fast. But here's the key detail. The coaching staff isn't considering a quarterback change. Veteran Joe Flacco still holds the starting job, rookie Dylan Gabriel is QB2, and Shedeur is sitting at QB3. For some, that sounds like an afterthought, but for Shedeur, it's a classroom. Every snap he watches from the sideline, every mistake the vets make, every halftime adjustment, it's all part of the education. Cleveland's decision to keep him in the background right now may actually be protecting him. Throwing a rookie into the fire behind a struggling offensive line can burn confidence as fast as it builds hype. By letting him marinate, the Browns are betting that the lessons he's absorbing now will pay dividends later. And here's the thing. The locker room notices patience too. They see a young quarterback not sulking, not lobbying for playing time, but staying engaged, headset on, eyes sharp. That presence builds credibility. It tells veterans this kid isn't entitled, he's committed. That viral moment with Szmyt did more than soften a rough loss. It rewired the conversation. Suddenly, headlines weren't about Shedeur's draft slide or his father's presence. They were about leadership. Players from other teams reposted the clip. Fans flooded timelines with words like franchise guy and natural leader. And analysts admitted, it's rare to see a rookie carry that kind of emotional composure. Leadership is usually the last thing rookies are judged on. For Shedeur, it became the first thing people wanted to talk about. And make no mistake, this matters more than a single stat line. A quarterback can throw darts, but if the locker room doesn't trust him, the team collapses. That clip showed trust in action. No one told him to cross that sideline. No coach called a meeting about empathy. He just did it. And when something like that resonates so broadly, it builds a foundation you can't fake. For the Browns, it means the narrative around their rookie quarterback shifted from skepticism to possibility. That's not just a media win, that's a culture shift. Front offices don't like to admit it, but depth charts are as much about politics as they are about performance. Coaches weigh the risks of change. GMs think about contracts, optics, and timing. What actually tips the balance isn't always a big throw in practice. It's the invisible calculus of trust. If the locker room quietly starts to see Shedeur as the guy they'd follow, then the hierarchy eventually shifts. Not overnight, not through a press release, but through subtle signals. More reps in drills. More leadership tasks after meetings. More sideline conversations that matter. That's the reality in Cleveland right now. Publicly, the message is patience. Privately, the staff knows what they saw in that viral moment. They know the rookie didn't flinch when the mood was darkest. And when a quarterback proves he can command a room even without a stat sheet, that buys him something veterans can't fake: belief. The Browns might not be ready to move yet, but the groundwork for change is already there. So where does this go from here? Cleveland has a decision window looming. Stick with the veterans and risk stagnation? Or lean into the rookie who's quietly redefining what leadership looks like? The smart move may be to let him simmer a little longer, but every week that passes, the narrative grows. Every time Shedeur shows poise on the sideline or connects with teammates in ways cameras barely catch, the argument for giving him the keys gets stronger. Fans sense it too. They've lived through decades of quarterback turnover, false starts, and heartbreaks. What they want now isn't just competence, it's belief. Someone they can hand a jersey to their kids and say, this guy is different. If Shedeur keeps stacking leadership moments, the groundswell might become too strong to ignore. And when that day comes, the Browns will either recognize the future sitting right in front of them or risk watching it flourish somewhere else. At the end of the day, one clip doesn't crown a franchise quarterback. But sometimes, a single act reveals the foundation of something bigger. Shedeur Sanders didn't wait for approval, didn't wait for experience, and didn't wait for a coach to signal leadership. He walked across a sideline when no one else moved, and in doing so, he reminded us what this position is really about. Not just throwing spirals, but changing the temperature of the hardest moments. That's not hype, that's DNA. For Cleveland, the blueprint is sitting right in their lap. Build around the quarterback who already carries himself like a leader, even as QB3. The rest will come. The only question is whether the front office has the vision to lean into it now, or whether another franchise will reap the reward down the line. And before you click away, if you want to keep following this story, don't just watch from the sidelines. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment with your thoughts on whether Shedeur should already be QB1. Every bit of engagement helps this channel grow, and it makes sure you won't miss the next chapter in a story that could reshape the Browns, and maybe the NFL.